Into Jordan. Here's Michael at the foul line. A shot on Elo. Good! The Bulls win! They win!
Where nothing is held back.
Go crazy, folks! Go crazy!
Where nothing is censored.
He did what?
Where nothing is off limits.
She is God!
Where anything goes. This is Snowman Unfiltered.
Holy Toledo, what a way to finish!
And here's your host, Brian Snow.
What's up, y'all? Snowman here. This is episode 6 of Snowman Unfiltered. And boy, am I happy to have you with me as I welcome a first-time podcaster by the name of Chris Love. He has the podcast Get Down On It with the Loves. He and his wife do a podcast every week. Something I have convinced my wife to do, but we're waiting to get a little more settled before we launch. But listen to this man's story. You'll love it. Next on Unfiltered. Here we are, folks, the 6th episode of Snowman Unfiltered, and I want to thank the folks who have supported the podcast so far. You can do a lot more to support the podcast by subscribing on your favorite app, and if you feel the love, drop a little donation for it so we can really keep this thing going. In another edition of Off the Board here on Snowman Unfiltered, met a gentleman in the same podcasting group where Wendy Gahula appeared last week, and he's got an incredible story. He's a husband, he's a father of 5. He's also a war veteran. He was in Afghanistan. And he's a former resident, as I found out, of the Carolinas. Please welcome Chris Love as he joins me right now. How are you, my friend?
I'm doing great, Snowman. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming on. I got to touch on this first.
Okay.
How did you come to the decision of you and your wife doing a podcast together?
All right, well, really it was a spur-of-the-moment thing at the very last minute, but I published a book, and I've been wanting to market it more and more, and I've been playing with the idea of doing YouTube videos. Well, I don't really like my face being on camera. I don't think I'm very camera pretty. And so I started thinking about podcasts and how that will look. I found that that podcast group that you just mentioned and did a little research, found out how easy it would be, especially on Anchor. And
Oh, yeah.
I started creating the idea for my own podcast show to kind of help authors and writers and with writer's block and stuff like that. And then one day I went downstairs and I looked at my wife and I said, how about we do a podcast together and we'll call it Get Down On It with the Loves. And she just completely exploded in laughter. And she's like, we got to do this. And that's how it went.
I love it. I love it. Doing the same thing, and yes, I'm going to drop a little hint here. I'm doing the same thing with my wife. We call ours the Tall Man Dr. K podcast. She's Dr. K. I'm the Tall Man. That's our nicknames for each other, and it's gonna be hilarious. We're just gonna share some funny stories, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
All that kind of stuff. So, being a father of 5, how much fun is it, and how hectic can it get?
Well, it depends on the day. Like we currently have a 1.5-year-old, and he's in this point in his life where he just randomly likes to let out this squeal. And like I tell my wife, it's a velociraptor squeal, something you hear on Jurassic Park. And as soon as he does it, it makes me want to start just like swinging. It just drives me crazy. My wife, she was actually, I was outside in the garage. I was outside in the garage, put my tools away earlier just before I came on here with you, and I heard him scream. And then I heard her scream back at him, and I just started laughing because she's so sick and tired of it, she just gave it right back at him. But it's fun, man. I got one daughter, Lucy, and she just started Girl Scouts today. And in the village that we're in, it's the first ever Girl Scouts troop, so we're really excited about that, and she's really excited. And yeah, everything is great. I mean, everything's going good with the kids, and
That's wonderful. How much fun do y'all have doing your podcast? I took a quick listen to it before we started this episode. Yeah, I'm sitting here laughing. It's terrific.
well, I'm glad to hear you laughing, because that's the point. I wanted to do something comedic. I knew that. Well, let me put it like this: when my wife and I go out to public places with our friends, it's like a laughing riot. I mean, we just have such a good time. So when I started thinking about it in the context of a podcast, I want to bring that, the way we get in public, I wanted to bring that to the podcast. And we have segments in our show where we may focus on a certain item, like kids, how to manage all the chaos when you have 5 kids, 4 kids, or just 1 kid. I remember when we just had our first kid, and it was the most life-changing event ever.
It absolutely is.
So, yeah, I mean, we just want to laugh and have fun and just bring our normal selves that we might be at a restaurant with our friends, just bring it to the podcast.
When your first child was born, you said it was a life-changing event, as it was for me when my daughter was born. Mm-hmm. How nervous were you with your first one?
Well, I had a little prior experience with having a kid, because I had another kid with another lady before my wife.
Okay.
So I'd already been in that area before. But it didn't feel any different. I just knew what to expect,
Understood.
Yeah, when we came home with Connor, he's 9 now, so this is 9 years ago. We talk about it on the podcast, actually. My wife says that when we came home, she's nursing the kid, and I get to go downstairs and, clean, quotations in the air, but really I'm going to sleep, or I'm like watching Netflix or something.
Right. I'll tell you, when my daughter Donna was born in 2013, it's kind of the same thing, but I can honestly tell you, all the nervousness that I had about being a father, all those instincts kicked in when she would be hungry, when she needed to use the bathroom, and unfortunately I caught a couple of messes from that. But all that starts kicking in when you become a dad.
Yeah. The things you do when you become a dad, I won't even tell you some stuff I've had to do on here. I mean, just when they get sick, you don't know what to do, so you just, I'll call my mom and be like, hey, tell me something that you had to do, because, and then I'll do what she said, and somehow we get through it. I don't know. I'm thinking of something right now, but I'm just not going to say it. But, I mean, without giving any medical advice, because I'm not a doctor, so take what I say with a grain of salt, everybody. But when you have a kid and they get sick, and they will get sick, especially when they start going back to school, they're going to get really dehydrated when they get sick. So eventually, when they get better, they're probably going to get really constipated. So I recommend, I don't want to say I recommend, I'm going to tell you what I do. What I do is I get a little Miralax and give them a teaspoon of it. Once every 24 to 48 hours as they're getting better, because what's going to happen is they're going to get constipated, and then you're going to hate life, and they're going to hate life. It's miserable. Oh my God.
There's a fatherly tip right there, folks.
Yeah, that's the kind of stuff we bring to the listeners in our podcast. So
when we first met in the podcasting group, there was something that you're very passionate about, and that was PTSD. Tell me about your experience with PTSD.
It's been ongoing for over 10 years. I got into the Army in 2005. Yeah, 2005 I joined the Army. So 2006 I went through basic, AIT, which is just special words for the school where you go train for your actual military job.
Right.
And then I went to airborne school at Fort Benning. And then within that year, I was deployed to Afghanistan. That's 2006. By the end of 2006, I was the gunner in our Humvee. The gunner is the guy that stands in the turret up top I'm either behind some kind of machine gun or something like that. I had a saw that day, so just a machine gun. And we were the first truck into this area that we had to pull security for. And I'm not lying, we pulled security all day long without moving. If I had to go to the bathroom, I had to go where I was.
Right.
I mean, that's just the way it was over there. I mean, we was pulling security, and at the end of the day, since we were the first ones in, we were the last ones out. That's the way it all rolled. So as we were going out, the exact same way we came in, the left front tire of the Humvee picked up a tripwire from a double-stacked anti-tank mine, and it exploded underneath our truck. Sent the front end of our truck into the air, several feet. I don't know how many. And it left a crater in the ground. I'm about 5'6". It came up to the middle of my stomach when I was standing in the.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, and that was the event that but it did change my life, and I still live with it to this day. And it's been an ongoing process with therapy and just counseling and trying to figure out why I'm so angry all the time and why do I get angry so quick. And to put it really simple, PTSD, you still feel emotions, but you feel the wrong emotions at the wrong time.
Yeah. You
know what I mean? It's and the people that I love the most are the ones that suffered the most, like my wife. Man,
right.
She's been through so much stuff because of it. What I came to realize was this. What it boiled down to for me was I got hit in the face, basically. You ever been in high school and you got sucker punched, or just anywhere and got sucker punched?
Yeah.
You never got to hit the punk back,
Nope.
So I'm getting chills talking about it right now. Somebody somewhere put a bomb in the ground that tried to kill me and my friends. Nobody got killed, but I never got to punch that dude in the face. I never got to get him back. And I still think about it to this day. Where is this person that put that bomb in the ground? What's his life like, Yeah. It's still, that's where the anger comes from. It's I want to kill the guy that did it, basically,
For those who have never experienced, either personally or via friends or family, PTSD, this is a first-hand account of it. And one of my favorite comedians is George Carlin. And he spoke of how our language has gotten so soft when describing PTSD. And the way he broke it down was, it was first called shell shock. And then shell shock became battle fatigue. And then battle fatigue became operational exhaustion. And then operational exhaustion became post-traumatic stress disorder. And he said something that is so true. And my dad was a veteran. He said this at the end of that skit, and it was so true when he said, I bet you if they had still been calling it shell shock, some of those Vietnam veterans might have gotten the attention they needed at the time. And it still holds true to veterans to this day. That's part of my passion right there. Yeah.
I actually had a Vietnam veteran when I was 14 and 15. He was actually my boss at my first job, and I actually learned a lot about Vietnam from him and his deployments over there. And let me tell you what, I'm telling you about mine. Mine's got nothing on his.
Understood. When you hear these stories, and I encourage anybody that has a veteran in their family or has been around a veteran, listen to their stories of them being there. You want some encouragement? Listen to them. And it's like you said, and I'll never forget your description in the group, it's putting a piece of you out there in terms of doing your podcast. It's putting a piece of you out there to be judged.
Yeah.
And you get to a point, and I know it's going to happen for you in time, and had to happen for me as a a sportscaster and a podcaster. It's to a point where you don't care who judges you, why they judge you, or what they're judging you for. But the first step is taking a step. What finally got you to take that step in terms of putting on a podcast or writing your book?
Yeah, well, for someone like me, for a lot of veterans, being around people in general, a lot of people is really nerve-wracking. It makes it impossible to be social. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
For many reasons. I mean, you don't know who you can trust. You don't know what's going to happen. It's all this different stuff going on in your head.
So true.
And, you know, I went to counseling and therapy. I still do. And it's been over 10 years. Eventually, I just got to the point to where I said I don't want to not be social anymore. I got to start putting myself in these situations that makes me uncomfortable. Like talking to you right now, I'm so nervous. I'm about to start biting my fingernails, man. Like my chest is there's something on my chest. I'm so nervous, but I'm doing it because one of the reasons why I'm doing it is because it makes me nervous to do it. And I want to face that stuff head on. So I've really been just kind of just throwing myself out there. And if someone doesn't like it or like me or whatever, fine, it's their opinion. I'm not going to try and let it, keep me from doing what I want to do. And doing all this, it helps me, but it sets a good example for my kids too, because they see it.
And it teaches you to really get over your fears of what you can or can't do, because we've been defined, especially as men, we've been defined by society of what we can or can't do, how much we're supposed to take, how much we can't take. And every time I speak to someone who is putting themselves out there in the form of a podcast or a blog or whatever, it makes me smile, because I was there once upon a time. And changing the rules of society is one of the biggest things. My wife taught me this lesson, because there are so many things that I had a prejudgment about until I met her. And she, through her actions with what was now our children, just taught me to let them all go. Just let them be who they are. And that's one of the most important things that you can do.
Yeah, exactly. Something I read on your Facebook profile really, really spoke to me. You put, I will no longer apologize for who I am, where I've been, and where I'm going.
I got tired of that's about as truthful as it gets with me and for me, because I'm tired of apologizing. And I told this story last week in part. I will tell it again. I was broadcasting for a school in Michigan City, Indiana, and everything was going great up until 2016. And in 2016, someone decided, I don't like what he's doing, so I'm going to ruin his reputation with a lie.
Really?
And the lie that they told, and I'm going to go ahead and say it. I didn't say it last week. I'll say it now. The lie that they told is that I was inappropriately touching 2 female students at said school.
Oh, my goodness.
Even with the parents coming to my defense, even with the kids coming to my defense, I was let go and not allowed back. And I just recently found out that one of the administrators is no longer there.
Oh, yeah.
And it just makes you wonder, who's really there for me? Who's really going to be there for me? Well, as it turns out, that entire school was. And the person that spread the rumor, he's going through his own personal hell. Do I wish bad things on anybody? No. But I do believe in karma, big time. And the person who did that is either in the process of getting his or is getting his.
Mm-hmm.
So PTSD can come in all forms, not just physical, folks. It can come emotionally, it can come mentally, because it really rocked me. And there are some days, like you said, that you want to find the punk ass who put that bomb under your Humvee. there are some days I want to find the punk ass who put that rumor out there.
Yeah.
And each day I have to tell myself, and there are some days my wife has to tell me more, that he's not worth wasting the time for it. Because you've had to work so hard through counseling to get around it, and dealing with that allows it to live rent-free in your head.
Mm-hmm.
With you, it's a totally different situation because it's war-related. I understand that, and I'm very empathetic of that. But at the same time, folks, you don't want to allow incidents or things that happen to you to live rent-free in your head. So whatever you got to do to get through it and to get past it, if it involves a lot of counseling, talking to people, and just doing what you're afraid to do, as you've talked about, just get it out there.
Yeah, just get it out there, because 9 times out of 10, the reservations you have about yourself aren't even true. I mean, you put yourself out there, 9 times out of 10, you're going to find out that you are a likable person. You just kind of recoiled back into yourself, and you don't know how to even accept good praises. You know what I mean?
At times, how rough does that get for you at times?
Well, I'll tell you a quick little story. I had a book signing for my book a couple months back, and I was sitting there. It was really quiet, and I was kind of like fiddling on my phone, just waiting for people to show up. And all of a sudden, I looked up, and there was, I don't know, 20 or 25 people just coming up to me in a group, ready to get their book signed and all. Right then and there, I started sweating, and they were handing me money, and it was simple math. It was, the book was $12, and they would hand me a 20, and I couldn't even do the math in my head. I was so screwed up. And they were telling me how good the book is and how proud they are of me. This was just a few months ago now, even after all my work I've done with therapy and counseling. When they were giving me good praises, I was like, in my mind, telling myself, for what? Like, have you read the book yet? You haven't read this part yet. I'm like shooting the good praises down in my head, going crazy inside my own body. Luckily, I hit it good. I felt like I was going crazy. My wife told me that I looked absolutely normal, but I'm telling you what, they were giving me good praises left and right, which is great. And I think back on that moment and how I wish I didn't feel that way. But the whole book signing for me was just kind of torture, because with every good praise came another lashing out at the good praise inside myself.
Let's close with that. Talk to me about the book. A crime drama. I love crime dramas. Talk to me about your book.
All right. Well, the book is called City of Red Part 1. It's the first book in a series called The Machete Legacy. And I came up with a single idea many years ago, like over 10 years ago. My wife and I went to a local park, and we were sitting next to the river, and we both brought our notebooks, and we were writing. She was writing poems, and I wrote down this idea for a book I wanted to do about a homeless man who used to be a made man in the mafia, and now he lives as a homeless man and keeps an eye on his family from afar. And I started working on that book and creating characters around this idea, and then I said to myself, I'm more entertained by the backstories of all these characters than I am this particular point that I created. So then I said, well, I'm going to go back to the beginning and do the story right from the very beginning. And then that's where this book here, City of Red Part 1, was born. It's everything that happens before what I just mentioned. The homeless guy used to be a made man. And about book 3, that's when I get back to that original idea.
That is great. Folks, if you haven't checked out City of Red Part 1, you can purchase his book via Amazon.com. I'm going to get a copy. And in fact, what I may do is have you back on for another episode and do a giveaway of City of Red Part 1, because I already know I'm going to enjoy it. City of Red Part 1 is on Amazon.com, and please check out this man's podcast. You can find it on Anchor and on your favorite app. It's Get Down with the Loves. Stories of fatherhood, stories of marriage, and just stories that make you laugh. I enjoyed it, and I hope y'all do too. Chris Love joining me here on Snowman Unfiltered. It has been an honor and a pleasure, my friend. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
What a story, and thank you to Chris Love for joining me here on Snowman Unfiltered. You can catch the podcast each and every week on your favorite app, and also you can catch us on iHeartRadio. New episode drops every Wednesday, 8 p.m., so log on and enjoy it. Until next week, when I have another great guest, have a great week. God bless. Remember to make your next move your best move, and always remember, if your dreams don't scare you, then they are not big enough. Dream big, do bigger, and never apologize for who you are, what you're doing, and where you're going. Until next time, Snowman out.